Hello everyone, and my name is Mohammed Junaid. Today we are going to do something very interesting, which is gravity. What do you think the mysterious force of nature is? Well, it is gravity. Gravity is a force of attraction that pulls together all matter, anything you can physically touch. So remember, matter is anything you can physically touch, and the more matter something has, the greater the force of its gravity. Here's a very important fact about gravity. Well, the size of the force of gravity depends on the mass of the objects. The bigger the object, the bigger the gravitational force. Remember this. This is very important for gravity. The gravitational pull is dependent on two factors. Number one, it depends on how massive it is, meaning how big it is. And number two, it is dependent on how close it is to another object. For example, the sun has much more gravity than the earth. But why do we stay on the earth? Well, that's because we're near the surface of the earth than the sun. So we stay close to the earth rather than going in the sun. Okay, so there are two tricky words that may confuse you: gravitation and gravity. Let's start with gravitation. Gravitation is the force of attraction acting between any two bodies of the universe. So this can be related to anything in the universe, like the sun and the moon. And gravity is the Earth's gravitational pull on a body lying on near the surface of the Earth. So basically, gravity is related to the Earth, but gravitation is related to the universe. They are tricky, right? Who do you think discovered gravity? Well, it's Isaac Newton. How did Isaac Newton discover the theory of gravity? Well, Isaac Newton famously discovered the theory of gravity when he saw an apple fall to the ground from an apple tree. Well, why do you think gravity is so important? Well, gravity is so important that if it wasn't there, we would have simply floated away. Now do you know how gravity is important? Well, you can even see in the images that what if gravity wasn't there? The image shows that everything is floating and life would be impossible. Well, gravity is also the force that keeps the Earth in orbit around the Sun, as well helping other planets remain in orbit. So now you may know how important gravity is. Because if the solar system was going wrong and planets were touching each other, well, there could have been a big boom. So now you will know how important gravity is. Well, did you know that weight is based on gravity? Well, now comes weight and mass. People use weight and mass to mean the same thing, but actually mass is the measure of the amount of stuff or matter which is inside an object, and it is measured in kilograms, kg. Weight is actually a measure of the strength of gravity acting on an object. It is measured in newtons. Shocked? We actually mix this up because it's kind of tricky. Well, the weight of an object is caused by gravity pulling it down. Objects with more mass have a greater weight as the force of gravity pulls them down more strongly. So the more bigger the mass of an object, the more strongly gravity pulls it down. Remember, mass is how much matter, meaning stuff, is inside an object. It is measured in kilograms, kg. Weight is how strongly gravity is pulling an object down. It is measured in newtons. Okay, now comes the facts about gravity, the interesting part. Weight and mass. An object's mass will stay the same even if it is in a place with weaker gravity like the moon. However, an object's weight can change. If the object were on the moon, although it would have the same mass, it would weigh much less as the gravity would not be pulling it down as strongly. The moon's gravity is much weaker than the Earth's. Remember this. Gravity is related to mass. You know that you would weigh less on smaller planets and more on larger planets. Jupiter is a much bigger planet than the Earth, so it has a stronger gravitational pull. You know that. Although an object object would have the same mass on Jupiter as anywhere else, it would weigh much more due to the gravity pulling it more strongly, like the example of the Earth and Moon. High and low tides in the oceans are caused by the Moon's gravity. The Moon's gravity is 1/6 of the Earth's gravity, so objects on the Moon will weigh only 1/6 of their weight on the Earth. So Earth's gravitational pull is 6 times more than the Moon. Meaning, if an object weighs 1,200 kilograms here on the Earth, then it will weigh about 200 kilograms on the Moon. You can also understand it by the image. There is zero gravity in outer space, so you would be weightless if you were floating out in space. Remember we said gravity also depends on your weight? So if, for example, there is lots of gravity in the Earth, then you would weigh, for example, 30 kilograms. But on the space, as there is no gravitational pull, you would be 0 kilograms and be weightless. Objects weigh a little more at sea level than they do on the top of a mountain. This is because the more distance you put between yourself and the Earth's mass, the less gravitational force of the Earth exerts on you. So the higher you go, the less gravity pulls on you and the less you weigh. However, the difference is very small and barely noticeable. This is very important. If you wanted to escape the Earth's gravitational pull, you would have to travel 7 miles, about 11 kilometers per second. This number is called Earth's escape velocity. This is something astonishing, right? This is the final and important fact. Even if two objects are different weights, the force of gravity will make them travel at the same speed. For example, if you dropped balls that were the same size but different weights out of the second-story window, they would both hit the ground at the same time if we ignore the air resistance. But if we add the air resistance, then of course the harder ball will reach first. Thanks a lot everyone. I hope you understood the concept.